Guess who has a story to tell? It's story time with AZ for Angela. This is my very first one, you guys. I had asked you all if you wanted to hear story time from me, and all of you guys had positive responses, so I thought, why not? What the hell? I've got a few stories up my sleeve, things that happened to me when I was younger, in high school and grade school and all this kind of stuff. So I thought that I would tell one of my stories to you guys and kind of give you a little background of the candle lady and what all took place in my childhood. And my childhood was completely fucking crazy. Like, I did some really crazy stuff. So this is something that I haven't shared with a lot of people. I actually just recently shared this with my mom. She had no idea that this happened. And I actually this past year just told my kids, like, no one knew about this. This is like completely crazy. But anyway, I'm going to take you guys back to 6th grade. Guys, I'm actually nervous to tell you this. It's crazy. Anyway, okay, so back in 6th grade, I was actually 10 years old. I started kindergarten when I was 4. So I was, kind of behind in everything, I guess. Like, everybody else was a year ahead of me. So I had this friend, and for video purposes, I will call her Catherine. So Miss Catherine and I had been friends since preschool. We actually went to preschool at the YMCA. I started preschool when I was 3, and then we proceeded to go to kindergarten and then all the way up to 5th grade together. And we, remained friends throughout. We weren't like best friends, I don't think, but we did a lot with each other. Like, I went to her house, she went to my house. We had birthday parties for the class. And we were pretty much always together too in the summers. Okay, so 5th grade rolled around, and in 5th grade was a big turning point for me because everybody had to decide in 5th grade if we were going to stay at the Catholic school that we were at, or if we were going to go to the public school or switch to a different Catholic school and finish out our grade school. So I decided to go to another Catholic school, not in the same city that I was in. So we were going to be bused. And my friend Catherine decided to go to the public school. So we still remained in contact. I remember that summer we hung out a lot, but when school kind of rolled around, we kind of lost contact with each other. But she was one of those friends, and still is to this day, where like if she were to contact me on Facebook or whatever, like we would just pick up right where we left off, like, just talking about our kids and doing whatever. Like, we remain friends throughout. Okay, so my dad had this rule in the house where I was not allowed to get phone calls past 9 o'clock on the weekdays and 10 o'clock on the weekends. And he was like really strict about this. Now remember, I'm 41 years old, so this was like back in the day where we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. Okay, so my friend Catherine was notorious for calling after that time. And whenever the phone rang, because my parents usually didn't get calls that late, we knew that it was going to be Catherine. And my dad, whenever he would pick up the phone and say hello, she would always hang up because she was scared. So, we knew kind of after that, and I actually had a phone in my room that I, should call her back. So she had called me one night, and it was when we were both in 6th grade. She was at the public school, I was at the private school, and we had kind of gotten very notorious for faking illnesses, like to the point where I would take the thermometer in the bathroom after telling my parents that I didn't feel good, or if I had a stomach ache and I wanted to stay home that day, I would take it and put it underneath the lamp or the light, fixture in the bathroom and get it just to 100, not over 100, because then they might take me to the doctor, but not under 100, because then they might say, oh, well, it's just like a low grade temp and you can go to school. Okay, so anyway, that was just like a little deviation into the story. Okay, so she had called me one night out of the blue, one ring. My dad said hello, click. Catherine hung up. So I decided to call her back, and I specifically remember this like it was literally yesterday. She said, Angela, you can't go to school tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm all in. I'm totally all in. Okay, what are we going to do? She's like, I can't really tell you right now. Just like, your parents going to be home tomorrow. I'm like, no, my dad has to go to work. My mom's in meetings all day with my sister. I'll fake being sick or whatever. And she's like, okay. She's like, and then I'll just call you in the morning. I'm like, all right. So got up in the morning, I got my washcloth, I wet it down with hot water, put it on my face so I felt clammy, took my thermometer, stuck it underneath the lamp. Oh, woe is me, I don't feel good. So my parents always let me stay home. Okay, so I'm home. My dad leaves for work at like 5 o'clock in the morning. My mom left at 8 for meetings. I'm home alone. Okay, so Catherine calls. She's like, Angela, I'm coming to get you. And this was like maybe 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I'll totally get ready. So I'm like getting ready thinking, we're going to go on our bikes because that whole summer, that's all we did. Like we got on our bikes and, we would drive down to the corner store and like get candy or just drive around the neighborhood because she knew like all these random guys. I don't know. She's awesome. Anyway, and we would like just bike to all these guys' houses and like meet different people or whatever we did. Mind you, I'm only 10 years old. She's actually, her birthday, I think, is in August. So she was 10 or 11. I think she was 11 and I was 10. Okay, so I got ready for whatever adventure we were going to be going on. And, got my bike out of the garage, getting all ready. She calls me again and she says, Angela, I'm going to come and pick you up. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't even think of at this point, I knew there was going to be a vehicle involved, but I thought, she's got an older brother. Maybe her brother was going to come and pick me up. I wasn't too sure. And I knew that there was like a little flag going on in my head, but then I thought, oh, whatever. So I get ready and I'm sitting in my front room. We've got a big bay window in the room and all of a sudden a car pulls up and pulls just right into our driveway. And we live on a really, really busy street. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, like her brother's here or maybe one of her brother's friends are here. They were like notorious for not really getting into trouble, but just like totally pushing the limits. And her dad worked at a car dealership. So like, I think he was driving by this time and I don't know, it was all fine. So I look out the window. Nope. There is Catherine sitting on an oversized pillow in her mother's car, driving with the window rolled down and the music blaring at age 11. And I'm like thinking, I'm totally in. So I hop in the car and I'm like, oh my gosh. And she's just like totally nonchalant, like, hey, let's do something. Here I am. This is my mom's car. She's not home. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. But at the same time, I was like petrified. Like the adrenaline was just like rushing to me. And mind you, I talked to her in the summer, but we had maybe like 4 months where I didn't talk to her at all. So, but like I said, she was one of these friends, where you just kind of like pick right back up again. And, like your best friends till the end, like one day, and then like you don't talk for a few months. So, okay, we're in the car. She's like, Angela, I'm going to the grocery store and we're going to get some cigarettes. And I'm like, cigarettes? I'm like, I don't smoke, and she's like, oh no, that's okay. I'm just going to go get them. And I'm like, well, how are you going to get cigarettes? They're not going to sell them to you. She's like, that's okay. I'm going to steal them. I'm like, what? She's like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. And I was just like, at this point, I was literally petrified, like shaking. I'm like, well, I can't go in there with you. Like, there's no way that I'm going in there with you. So at this point I start, anxiety levels are rising. I'm like, oh my God. And mind you, I live on a busy street. So like Catherine is driving. She can barely see out the window, but she knows what she's doing at the age of 11. I kid you not. It was the craziest thing ever. So we get to the grocery store. She pulls into the parking spot, just like, she's a regular driver, gets out, goes into the grocery store, 5 minutes later, comes back out, has a pack of cigarettes. And I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Like, this is so crazy. I'm like, now what are we going to do? And she's like, well, we're going to just drive to the park and we're going to smoke and then I'll take you home. I'm like, okay. So we drove to Riverside Park. She parks, she gets out the cigarette, she lights it, she starts smoking like she's been smoking for years. I take one puff, I gag, I almost throw up, I'm ready to go home. We get back in the car, she drops me off at home, and I got back in my pajamas, and that is my story. So I have tons of stories like this, like crazy off the wall things, more so in high school, not really when I was younger like this. So yeah, that's kind of really where it all started. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a similar story like this, leave a comment down below. Mind you, like I said, this was like 30 years ago. So this was a really big deal. It might not sound like a big deal to some of you guys now, but because like I'm an oldie, it was a big deal to me. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, we never got caught. I never told anybody, but I'm telling you guys now, and you know, it is what it is. So have a good day, everybody. Thumbs up this video and subscribe. See you later. Bye-bye.